I would say that the industrial agricultural paradigm it's a dangerous one to get caught in, because yes, the results are immediate and they are very clear that if you apply this amount of ammonium anhydrous nitrogen in the beginning of the season, your corn grows so high. And it works. The one thing is that I say it's dangerous because I feel that it sets ourselves up for larger unforeseen problems of what happens if these microorganism communities are not in the soil and it takes us so long to rebuild them. And you know, if all the soils are void of these life-giving communities, you know, it's going to take a while to recharge them. While the industrial agricultural system does provide sort of instant gratification or instant results, it's a new system that has been in place over the last 50 years or so. The microorganism system of creating life and abundance from the soil has been around for millions and millions of years. So to cut something out of the picture that has been created over millions and millions of years, it doesn't make sense to not utilize these naturally occurring microorganisms. And I have a feeling, as I've seen in products that are out on the market, that people are starting to realize this, and that even in chemical fertilizers and industrial situations, they are utilizing more mycorrhizae and microbial inoculants and so forth. And I think that's a little piece of the picture. It'd be nice to see a more holistic approach as opposed to just sticking a little mycorrhizae in with this or in with that, but actually have a holistic approach to treating the soil as that ecosystem that it is. That diversity in the ecosystem, especially in any ecosystem, and then now in the soil, as we're talking about soil, is naturally it's there over the millennia and millions of years of evolution. These microorganisms have evolved as the decomposers of human, animal life. Then they allow life, and then death occurs, and then they turn death into life. And that's the regenerative cycle in its essence. It's really based upon the proper functioning of these microorganism communities. So how do we approach the soil in a healthy way? Well, how do we approach ourselves in a healthy way? You know, it's the same concept. That's the way I see it. So one of the real aspects of our lives is that we are a complex system. The human body, the earth, everything natural happening is very complex. It's an interconnected web of life. And the most amazing thing is that when you break down all these patterns that make this complex connections, each of these patterns is rather simple. And when they aggregate and come together to form a whole, that's where the complexity and the strength is. So that's how I see a healthy agricultural system, is a complex pattern comprised of smaller, simpler patterns that are all working together in unison. I've spoken with some scientists, and some of the top scientists in Cornell and all over the place a little bit, and determining what is going on in these communities, it is incredibly complex because there's so many millions, if not billions, of different microorganisms working together. And so when you sterilize or when you over-till or over-compact the soil and make an inhabitable or inhospitable environment for the microorganisms, you're essentially setting yourself up for a disaster. While the industrial agriculture does provide those immediate results, I think it's important for us to look at the results for the next 7 generations down the line. And the way I look at industrial agriculture is you start right here with a naturally healthy soil, okay, and then you till it and do whatever you're going to do to it. And the amount of work that you're putting in gets you up here. But then you come all the way back down for the start of the next season, probably lower than where the natural fertility of the soil was because of all the tilling and the pesticides and the herbicides that were applied. So then you need to apply even that much more to get back up here again. And then you keep going down, maybe you even go down further, and then need to put in more, and then it creates this cycle where you're putting all this work and energy and then coming back down for the next year, then putting even more in to get back up to where you were. With natural farming, sustainable agriculture, I like to look at it as, so maybe you're starting at that point here, and then the first year, maybe you just go like this, and cruise along. And then the next year, go like this. But you're not having that drop off because you're not killing and destroying the life and the fauna and flora that exists in the soil. So instead of this type of increase in effort that needs to be put in over time, something more like this. And I like to think ideally you will reach a point that's far beyond in productivity and far less labor than you could ever reach in industrial agriculture. Yeah, it might not happen overnight in one season, but with diligence and with care and attention to cultivating that life and that balance in the soil, I believe that a natural farming agricultural system will create a much higher yield, a much better quality product with far less labor and far less expenses over time. And what more do you want than that as a farmer?